Okay, so the last part of this class addresses older adults. The last lecture we ended with was teenagers or adolescents, and then we talked about eating disorders, which always triggers a lot of us. And so we've talked about all the phases in the lifespan except for adults. And that means between, ages 18 and 65, pretty much, let's say 18 to 60. The reason that we don't focus on that in this class is because most of your classes are talking about adults and nutrition. Most of your classes, when you take your intro class, you get to analyze your own diet, right? And you get to think about what you should eat. And then wellness, you may think about across the lifespan, but a lot of what we teach in our curriculum is for adults. But so we don't have, because we don't cover these other areas of the lifespan, we focus here on older adults. So this is I don't always know what people are going to be interested in. Sometimes students don't care anything about pregnancy, and then they get interested, especially young kids, if it's not part of your lifestyle, but you start thinking about it and it becomes important. I think maybe we can all relate to older adults better because we have people that we love and our families, and we also know we're going to go there. You may not ever have kids, but you're definitely, best case scenario is that you're going to get older, and you may be in a situation where you can help rescue your family members from health challenges, work in a professional environment, and also take care of your own health. So there's some important issues here in the older adults section. So I again, as always, I focus on key nutrients, not every nutrient you can think of, but key nutrients for older adults. And I will say that there has been some of this information has actually saved the lives of people in hospitals or in, this isn't really a clinical class, but in a health challenge venue, because the dietitian is looking for things that may not be on the radar of the physicians or other healthcare providers. So because we look through the lens of nutrition, we're an integral part of the healthcare team. And in particular, older adults, you could probably conjure up, we're going to talk about health problems that are faced, but you can probably conjure up a whole lot of them just thinking about, like, what if they lost their teeth? Right? How's that going to affect diet? What if they can't shop anymore? What if they can't drive? How's it going to affect their diet? What if they're out of funds, which a whole lot of people are? What's that going to do? So and if they have any gastrointestinal issues, how should they go about taking this? Should they take supplements? What supplements matter? Which ones are just a Band-Aid approach, and which ones can actually make a difference? So what we want to do in this lecture is help distill, it could be an entire course, certainly could be a graduate course, but in here we have a couple, 3 lectures that are 2 lectures, 2 parts to this. We'll get into this, so it's worth your time. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, it's worth your time. Not worth your time is watching me slog through slides too fast. Okay, this is a bad, what do you call it, resolution, but I still like this. The one I actually like better is you, let's say you're 60, let's say you're 40 years old, and you can go one of 2 ways, right? You can go hey, I really like bacon and the movies and sitting down and not doing anything and drinking way too much and, all those things. I like that stuff so much. I'm okay dying early as long as I can embrace everything I want to embrace, right? Problem with that is you may not die early. You may just wish you had, okay? Because if you spend the last 20 years of your life with poor muscle tone, prone to falls, diabetes, you have diabetes medication, no joy in physical activity, you can go a couple of ways. And you know that from the viewpoint of a young person, but you have to do this through your whole life. But he could look real different right here, right? We see him dejected. He could be sitting up straight if he worked on his physiology for the last 30, 40 years and so forth, and could be filled with joy. So he's not, but we have that option. Okay, so the outline for this lecture, and again, there's two parts. This is the introductory lecture. Because you haven't had a background on older adults, this is your class. So we'll talk about some definitions, what's going on with the population. You'll find out, if you didn't already know, that there's more and more and more older people. Life expectancy, the differences, what we can do about death, preventing death, quality of life, and so forth. So this just kind of gets at general survivorship. So here's some definitions. I've given this, I'm using definitions for several years, and I have to say, as I've taught this class or a version of it for 30 years, so I'm 64, so I was a lot younger, and I was not in any of these age groups. And right now I'm getting ready, in March I will be in the young old. So it's so interesting for me to think about this. So this is my sister and husband. This is probably 5 years ago. They're a lot older now. They were, these guys group, these are probably young old at this time. And then age, well, you know, he's got it, right? He's timeless. And then older adults, right? So these aren't really formal definitions, but it kind of gives you a way to categorize them in your head. And I really don't know that you need to do that so much, because people are very different. You have the person that's very physically active, lucky, good genes, enough money to take care of their health, right? All the privilege that can come with privileged patients in society. And then you have people, for whatever reason, that can't achieve those things, lack of resources, you know, I've gone off on this, I won't do it again, but it's not an even playing field for everybody. But let's make it that way. We have the power to make it that way. So demographics, this is, what does a population look like? Okay, so in the year 2000, here was our population. We had 41 million in 2011. It's projected to go up. And this is people over 65 in the US, go up and go up. Think about this with respect to resources, but also think about it with respect to job opportunities. If you have an interest in working with older adults, there will be jobs. And a lot of the jobs can be about prevention and healthy living, right? And then some of the jobs may be about, you know, getting people through from a medical nutrition standpoint, from health challenges. I like graphs, so I threw another one in here. This is just to think about this. So this line is people over 65, and here's the line of people over 85. So we have an aging population. We're the baby boomers. We're coming through right now. So yeah, so your parents are probably too young, most of them too young to be baby boomers, but they're following in our stead. So, okay, let's look at this thing about the difference between life expectancy and lifespan. Lifespan means, theoretically, how long can we live? Like the human body, best case scenario. Let's say you have pet dogs, right? Depending on the breed, they have a certain lifespan. Some little dogs, you can go, well, probably 16 years. The oldest they ever get is, you know, whatever years. But you have the lifespan, you can say they could live this long. But the life expectancy is based on data. What actually do we think people, how old can people live? What age are they going to be when they die? So you can see it's changed dramatically. Now this in 1880, this doesn't mean that everybody keeled over in 39, because that would be hard to run the planet, right? But what happens is there's a lot more deaths from infections, childbirth, infant deaths. And so if you, these numbers average in everything. So it was a lot easier to die. We didn't have antibiotics, right? There's so many challenges that we had. And so then we start to see some improvement in, you know, public health initiatives, things like washing your hands, using soap, you know, and so on and so on. And then here we're here. So this gives you an idea. So here's a woman that lived probably, she still holds a world record. She lived she has lived the longest, okay, of anyone. So she's dead now, but this is how long she lived. Okay, so I'm sorry, I've had people say in the past, thanks for talking about death and the end of life and the end of the semester because it's depressing. It's not depressing. It's just some of this is factual, and it's still it's relevant, and you can look at this through a positive lens. It doesn't have to be bad, because life as you get older can be really fun and fulfilling. So, but let's still look at this. So, and what you notice about this, these are the leading causes of death. And the numbers are always a little old because it takes a while for the government to crank out new numbers. But we've got heart disease and cancer up here. You know where COVID is right now? Anybody? COVID's third. Okay. Bringing it up. So what you know though, now, I know there's so much controversy about this and there shouldn't be, but in all cases, it's hard to actually say what the cause of death is, because as you know, people that are at risk for dying from COVID are more likely to have comorbidities. I know everybody probably pretty much knows it. So people that are overweight, that have diabetes or hypertension or cardiovascular disease or cancer or something are more likely. So it's in here, and probably the death is exacerbated by these conditions. Nonetheless, we're in a bit of scary times here. Now the good news is we have maybe vaccinations coming. It may be, your parents can be protected by as late as next March or April, and your grandparents. And so it looks like I don't know if you guys keep up with the news, but the two companies have come up with their predictions of the efficacy of their vaccinations, and they're 90 and not around 90%, even higher, which is unprecedented. Usually vaccines aren't that good. So we have some hope, but right now, here's what's going on. So these are leading causes of death. Notice this has to do with lifestyle, right? The leading causes of death isn't a bolt of lightning. It has to do with consumption, dietary consumption, physical activity, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is another way of looking at it. It's preventable deaths from the 5 leading causes. So reducing the number of earlier than expected deaths requires, so how do we lower those numbers? Reduce your risk factors. Don't have high blood pressure. Don't have high diabetes, right? Screen so you know where you are and then can act. So this is a public health initiative, so more and more people are screened. And then early intervention. So if somebody finds out that they have prediabetes and they're 50 years old, they can turn that around and live a long, healthy life, all right? Because they work on the risk factors, they get screened, and they get early intervention. It's really never too late to intervene, but obviously the earlier the better. What our dream is prevention, right? We don't want to see people get here. Okay, so the 5 leading causes of death, and with a major modifiable risk factors include this: heart. So heart disease, smoking, high blood cholesterol. So this could be genes or diet, being overweight, being inactive. A lot of these are lifestyle. Cancer, same thing. There are also, genetics is also a big piece of this. I have cancer that runs rampant in my family, always keeps me scared, because, what are you going to do about it except for diet and lifestyle and screening, right? It's the best you can do. These diseases that people get, and we don't even have COVID in here, but that people can be affected by, notice how tobacco shows up all the time, and so on. And then stroke. These are all interrelated, you guys. These issues cluster together because they're all health related, lifestyle and diet related. Last one is maybe not completely related to diet, but it is drug and alcohol consumption too. So this is kind of a way to parse or think about preventing death, in particular your loved ones. Having said this, not everybody listens to their family members. And if we want to spend our last day talking about that, how to talk to parents about and family members about improving their health, we may do that. If we have time in the semester, that's what we'll do. Okay, this is telling. So I went out and looked at more current information about how we are in the US compared to other countries. And I think it's a valid thing to do so that you understand where we are and where we could be. So some of our policies in place now are not pro health. They are pro industry. Industry's good. People need money and all this. But we, right now we're working on losing our health care, losing our, especially for poor people, losing our access to health, and also having very expensive insurance. So just take a look at this. So in the United States, this is death rate from obesity. Here's the United States, and look what's happened in other countries. Now, Japan's lower anyway. Okay, so, but other countries, and they have been able to bring this down, partially due to the percent of people that are overweight, and then also due to health care. When health care is present, people are less likely to die here. Okay, so health in the presence of healthcare and prevention, we could get this line to go down. This is also interesting too. This is about money, because money comes up all the time, in the fights that go on across the nation. And why should we insure people? Why should I pay my taxes for people? On and on. Why should we have health care? Why can't people, there's so many arguments about this, but if you look at how we compare to other countries, here's life expectancy, and cost is here. Life expectancy is here, and here's the United States. So we are spending an awful lot of money on healthcare, but our life expectancy is a lot lower than other countries that have maybe more inclusive systems. Now, this is not a political science class. I'm not going to take this further than this, but these are data. So I want you to just think about it. I think, I'll say one more thing about this. Maybe two. Healthcare, having healthcare, in particular prevention, can get you from here to up here if we do it right. It's just so it's possible to change our trajectory in the United States, and not just shrug and go, oh well, it sucks to be us. We can do better. And yeah, I'm gonna get off politics. If anybody wants to write me to talk about stuff or argue with me, I'm all over that. I'll be happy to talk to you and discuss, but this is just enough for class right now. Last thing is health insurance coverage per capita. And it's the same kind of thing. So share of the population covered by health insurance based on income. So, all right, let's get into a more cheerful topic. Maybe. I actually need you to think for a minute. How do you see yourself at 60? And obviously you have an incredible role model here. I'm totally kidding. Okay, so how do you see yourself? Think of people you know. Let's do 70 or 80. Okay, how do you see yourself? Jot down a couple words or thoughts. Like, you're 70 years old. How do you want to be? What do you want your life to be like? How do you want this to go? Just think about it for a minute. And then please speak up. You don't have to, we don't have to look at you if you don't want to show us your thing, but if you can talk for a little bit, just what do you think? What about seeing yourself at 70? What would you like to be able to do, and what are you ready to give up?
In the comments so far, we have willing to pick up new hobbies and wanting to travel.
Travel, new hobbies. Okay, at 70. Anybody else? Y'all can talk or comment.
I want to be playing with my grandkids.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to be healthy enough to like keep up with my grandkids and stuff.
Okay.
I
So
want
I'm
to
saying
be
healthy.
independent and able to take care of myself without relying on anybody.
Okay.
Someone said the ability to exercise.
Ability to exercise.
An ability to resistance train. I do a lot right now, so hopefully my joints will still be healthy.
Cool. So use it or lose it. Anybody else?
I hope I can say I had a really successful career to
have a
Yeah.
good older age.
Nice. So if you can look back and go, man, that was well done. And I enjoyed it. It was rewarding. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes.
Cool.
I want to be able to like keep a willingness to try new things. A lot of people, they're like, oh, I can't learn anymore. And I want to be the kind of person who has a growth mindset all the way to the end where I'm eager to learn new things, hopefully.
You know, just the fact that you said that means you're going to do it. I find people have epiphanies sometimes. I had some earlier life. I remember, you know, when I was 27, and I had, it had to be older than that because I had little kids. And I was doing the dishes, my cheap little house, taking care of kids. And after I put them down, I had to go do graduate student work or whatever. And I remember thinking, wow, all I do is work. And I had an epiphany. And the epiphany was, yeah, that's what you do. You know, as a kid, you didn't have to work that much, but when you're a responsible adult, you have to work all the time. And then I had another one more relevant to what you say. And this is actually someone that said it to me. She's not my favorite person in the world, but mattered a lot. She talked to me, I guess I was in my 35 or so. And she and her husband, they thought about it and they thought, you know, what we want to do as our life goal is to choose happiness. It seems so easy, but it's also so profound, you know, and it's not easy. And sometimes it seems so far away. If things are hard, you know, we all go through trauma and difficult situations. But if you always, to the best of your ability, think, how do I make my world a better place? How do I get my mind around this and how do I help people around me? It can change. You can change things. Choosing happiness is a gift. You know, I also choose learning, right? For me, I mindfully decided to choose happiness a really long time ago. My life got better from, years won't matter to you, but over the past 3 decades, my curve on happiness has just kept going up because I always think about it. What's the right thing to do? You know, what's fun? And I've been very lucky. And this includes, you know, death of family members and stuff like that. So you can choose it. What's funny is some people in these slides say things like, well, I want to be able to take myself to the bathroom. Is that there? Anybody agree with that? Want to be in control of your own body?
Definitely.
Right? Having said that, I think we all want to do that. I just want to say one more thing. I keep saying that, but I've helped a lot of older people die because I've been involved in the end of their lives. And just you do that. You may not have done it yet, but part of your life is going to be helping people die and helping them figure this kind of stuff out. And one of the things that I learned is that towards the end of life, people do lose bladder control. So they have to wear diapers, they're in bed and stuff like that. And so you may think, well, that's the worst thing in the world. But if you get it out of your head and you go, yeah, it smells like urine here. You know what babies smell like urine too? You know, so you go, okay, it smells. It's an old age place, it smells. But there are vibrant, real people there that have lived very full lives and probably have a lot to teach you. So getting past that, I think, is important. So that's my high horse for this. So just be thinking about what direction you want to go in this. So I can't start anything about older adults without pushing physical activity. Some of you mentioned this. If you're active, you can add to that life expectancy. And this is a video, which I'm not going to show now, that talks about, you know, for half an hour a day, 23 and a half hours, no, but for half an hour a day, you can change. If you go from sedentary to being active half an hour a day, can change everything. Well, you can imagine being active and then ramping up within normal limits can change everything. I feel so strongly about physical activity. I can't even go there. It should be at least as important as diet, maybe even more important. I mean, diet matters, but inactivity, those of you that talked about, I want my joints to work, I want this to still work, use it or lose it. Because, and also as you get older, your muscle mass goes down and your capacity to lift weights and you know, and by lifting weights, I mean lift the weights of life, do stuff, do fun things like that, decreases unless you're mindful about that physical activity. So even taking a several month hiatus, you got to start at square one, and the older you are, square one is a lot lower, and so it's harder. So physical activity is critical. Okay, here's a term for you that helps kind of codify what we've been talking about, which is determinants of independence. I don't know anybody that says, you know, I would like somebody to do everything for me, you know, as soon as possible. And that may sound good, but we like our independence. Humans are very independent, many of us are. So there's some terms that can help you think about this. So activities of daily living versus instrumental activities of daily living. So activities, if you can do the following, if you can bathe and shower yourself, dress yourself, get in and out of bed, use a toilet and eat. If you can do these things, you have a whole lot more independence because you can take care of your own body, right? And so this is baseline. And I think most of us want at least this. And then the instrumental stuff means you get more independence. Yeah, and I don't even want to talk about COVID right now because shopping's a joke, except, you know, we order. I haven't been in a store in a really long time. But normally shopping, taking care of business, by housekeeping, I'm not talking about doing the floor or something like that. I'm just talking about keeping your business running, right? Things you have to do. You got to pay your bills. You got to do this kind of stuff. Accounting falls into this too. You got to be able to prepare your food. Keep track of medications. One of the things that happens with older people when they really decline is they can't do this anymore. And they can start out and put their medicines in here. And, you know, I know it'd be a perfect world. We go, well, yeah, I don't need any medicines, but a lot of people do. You know, even healthy people need medications, blood thinners, things like that. So at some point, people can load these up and they're fine. And then there comes a point where they can't do it anymore. My mother died at 80 of a brain tumor. And you could see an abrupt change in her capacity, right? She was doing stuff, and then all of a sudden she couldn't do any of this. And then I realized, oh wow, I realized something was wrong, and I realized the extent that it was wrong. Some people it's a little slower how they get through this. But so anyway, this stuff means you can live alone. Okay, you can live in your own abode. You can take care of yourself. This stuff means you probably, if this is all you can do, you probably can't live alone. But you can live in a room and you can have the dignity that you crave. Okay, so the next part of this lecture is about aging and nutrient status. So this other stuff is kind of social issues, which are critical to understanding nutrition issues. If you don't think about what it's like to be an older adult, you really can't think about nutrition. So, oh, other people often say they want their teeth, right? I'm sure everybody wants their teeth. Oh, one more. Does anybody, what age do you want to stop having sex at? I'm just asking. Have you decided? Is 40 yet? 42? Don't be embarrassed. I say this in class too. I pick on students and usually I get to see you. What age have you decided? You want to still have sex when you're 80? Let's say hypothetically, so you don't want it to be about you. Do you think it would be okay or desirable for some old person at age 70 to still have, or 80 to still have sex? Yes or no?
People in the comments are saying never.
Never want to stop.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. You never want to stop. And you know, invariably people say, well, you know, it's gross or something like that. And my comment in class is also inappropriate. And one, it's not gross because your skin is just different, you jerks. And the other thing is when we're parents of children, teenagers, and young adults that start having sex, we don't like them to do that either. Okay, we would rather they. I mean, I'm kidding, but you know, it's. People may be uncomfortable with parents, maybe you're a divorced parent having sex with someone and you think, well, they should stop doing that. Calm down. It's a human pleasure that may be able to follow you for the rest of your life. So if you don't want to, if you've decided you don't want to give it up, well then there you go. So I'm just saying, so this is where physical activity, healthy diet, keep doing stuff. You can live a full life for a really long time or get sick at 40 and stay sick. Okay, so this lecture's on stress, enjoyment of eating, how this changes, which is going to affect nutritional status, and a bunch of health conditions specific to older adults. And these are so critical. This is something you don't see in our other lectures to the extent that we do here. And then a little bit more about other nutrients. So let's go a little further on this. Okay, stress. Oh my goodness. What a lecture right now. I didn't even put COVID in here. I went through this and thought about it, but I thought, so imminent risk of death, can't see family members, you know, afraid you'll never see anybody again, can't get together for the holidays. We have so many more stresses. College students trying to, you know, deal with online education and communication issues and stuff. I mean, my goodness. But there are physical stressors traditionally also involved in getting older: alcohol, drugs, smoking, pain, heat, illness. These things can affect people's health. And then there's psychological stuff, and don't downplay this. Divorce for many people is like the death of a spouse. And then there's also the death of a loved one. And some people can come back from this, and some people just really suffer. You've probably seen people that hit all of those. Poverty. There's a whole lot of poverty in the United States, and along with poverty comes reduced access to food and health care. So those stressors, you know, we end up with homeless people because they lose family members, and then they lose their safety net. So, and then what does stress do? It decreases immunity, people sleep less, which always eludes me, is a major way to help protect your health. People have trouble with it. And then we have these stress hormones. So whenever you meet with an older adult, don't assume that they're fine, because they may be experiencing things that are going to affect their diet and their health. Okay, so this is a big deal when it comes to nutrition. Their enjoyment of eating changes. So we're going to talk about all the different ways. Notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 issues we're going to talk about relative to older adults. Sorry for my graphics, but hyposmia is one of them. It's a reduced, hypo means low, osmia refers to smell, reduced ability to smell or detect odors. So sometimes when people get older, this happens. So causes are nasal polyps. They may have growths in their nose, viral infections. We know of an important one right now, right? COVID. This is one of the things COVID does. Early signs of Parkinson's. My dad actually died of Parkinson's disease, and he lost his sense of smell before that. He died at 80 as well, and this is what happened to him. And then dementia. So these are a lot of causes. And now this is different. So smell that declines with age, kind of normal. It's not preventable. This is presbyosmia. Hyposmia is more of a medical condition that can have a stronger effect. But as people get older, you know, I hate to say this, I live it. You produce fewer cells. You generate fewer. You replace fewer cells, right? If you lose cells from your gastrointestinal tract, you're slower to replace them, right? You heal more slowly, things like that. So it's the same with some of our functional tissues, as they just don't function as well. So older people can develop this, where they don't smell as much. And that's why they can have a dog that pees in the house every now and then, they don't know about it, because it's not offensive. You go in there and you're like, wow, something happened here, but they don't smell it. Okay, so I'll look at a lot of people that's going to affect them. Now, some people may not detect the change, but they may not know that they don't smell things as well, but it can affect their enjoyment. I remember, I know you've had food science, but things that you learn about food science, you know, think about a chocolate cake, assuming you like this. If it's hot and moist, right, and straight out of the oven, you can smell it. And so you smell it and then you eat it, and those sensations are there's real rich. if you can't smell and you eat that same thing, it's not that good. You know, I actually, a few years ago, I took an antifungal drug, and in the fine print, it said that may have an effect on taste and smell. You know, I didn't think about it. It was my toenail was messed up, and I was trying to fix it. So I thought, well, let me try this medication. A side effect in little tiny print was reducing the ability to smell or taste. And I didn't think about it at all. And I'd been on it for a couple of weeks. And I used to eat, you know, like Greek yogurt, which is bitter anyway, and then put some granola and fruit, you know, fresh fruit on or something. And I was eating it and I couldn't taste anything. You don't smell yogurt anyway, but I couldn't really taste anything. So then I thought, it just hit me. I didn't enjoy eating. So then I took some straight granular sugar and put it on there and ate it. I only felt the texture. I did not taste it. So there was no ability to taste sugar. And whenever I lecture about this, it makes me think about, you know, people lose this stuff. Why would you eat after that? And during that time, I quit taking the medication. It took probably 2 or 3 weeks to get better. I would go eat out with my husband, and we'd go eat fish and, you know, some stir fry or whatnot. And I would stop at the moment I was full because I wasn't enjoying eating it. It was just fullness. It was almost like eating cardboard. It's like, okay, I've had enough and then I'm done. So for older adults, you know, the pleasure in food's gone. And so then if they can't smell it, what are you going to do? Well, going for sugar and salt usually enhances flavor. So a lot of older adults are going to add more sugar and salt to food. You've seen older adults like eat cantaloupe and watermelon, right? And put salt on it, right? Okay, so this is one of the changes. So if you something to think about. Food tasting good is a thing. Okay, here's another one. And again, I have the same experience with this, which is distortion of sense of taste. So dysgeusia is distortion in normal part of aging. And there's a couple of, ageusia means no taste. And hypo means under. So A means without taste. Hypo means under, lower ability to taste. Dysgeusia just means a distortion. Okay, so people, their ability to taste can change when they get older. Some of it's preventable, but here's some causes. Smoking, you guys, smoking is just, you know, I smoked when I was 17. I grew up in Korea, and I was in a small foreign school there, and we started smoking, and I enjoyed it very much. I just probably smoked 5 cigarettes a day, maybe more. And I wasn't doing it to be cool. I was doing it because I got addicted to the caffeine. It was really fun. And I mean, not caffeine, but the nicotine, it was really fun. And then, because I knew that was stupid, when I went to college right after that, I quit doing it. But ever since then, I'm not offended by smoking because I had a positive experience with it. So probably some of y'all can relate to this, but if you haven't smoked, don't do it. Don't let any young people you're in charge of get started, because it's addictive. And it affects every bit of health. The only thing smoking does sometimes is help people maintain a lower body weight, but they get lung cancer and then they don't enjoy life anymore. So some bad things about it. And they smell bad. All right, I'm not even going to go off on the obvious joke there. Okay, so then other things like chemotherapy, asthma treatment, some of this asthma stuff, just that's all you smell or taste. Zinc deficiency, this is a nutrition component. Low zinc status can relate to taste. Gingivitis, periodontal disease, people need to go to the dentist at least twice a year, get their teeth cleaned, have somebody figure it out. One of the common causes of bad health in older adults, that may be okay everywhere else, but their teeth start to go. It's real important to get that care. Having said this, I haven't been to the dentist since, maybe a year ago because of COVID. I always go all the time, but I'm worried, COVID, I'm like, maybe I'll be okay. But people need that kind of help. Unchecked periodontal disease, people can lose all their teeth. They're certainly not going to enjoy eating anymore and all those things. Some medications affect, xerostomia means dry, zero means dry, stomia means mouth. Some medications cause dry mouth. Painkillers are one of them. And dry mouth means the food doesn't taste very good. If you remember your food science, the way that flavors affect you is you have these taste buds that allow for flavor components to sort of dissolve in the liquid in the taste buds, and then your taste buds sense it. If your mouth's dry, you're not going to taste it as much. Here's my example in this. It's let's say instead of that chocolate cake being moist and yummy and smelling really good, let's say it's a week old and it's dry and crumbly. If you have xerostomia, that may be what the fresh cake tasted like, right? You just don't have the pleasure from it because of dry mouth. And then some health conditions can affect this. So if you work with adults, you realize they have a lot of things on their plate. Okay, so xerostomia. I'm going to stop here. I think we've given lots of information. So I'm going to stop recording. Remember how to do this. Yes.